Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Anil Thomas. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to assess cyclone's flood impact areas in the southern state of Tamil Nadu today. India's Chief of Defence Staff inaugurates Hindustan Aeronautics Limited's Avionics Expo 2023 in New Delhi, says India can benefit economically by the 60 billion defence industry. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reveals that IDF closing in on Hamas founder Yavah Shinwar. The Hamas founder is said to be one of the architects of the October 7th attacks. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the Israeli Defense Forces are encircling the house of Yavah Sinwar, who is the chief of Hamas in Gaza. Sinwar is also one of the main masterminds behind the October 7th Hamas attacks that claimed more than 1,200 Israeli lives. Netanyahu's announcement came as Israeli troops ramped up operations in Gaza's Khan Yunis, where the Hamas leader's house is located. However, Shinwar's exact location is not yet known.
Yesterday I said that our forces could reach anywhere in the Gaza Strip. Today they are encircling Sinwar's house. His house may not be his fortress, and he can escape, but it's only a matter of time before we get him.
Amidst the escalating tensions in Israel-Hamas conflict, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu approved a minimal fuel entry increase for Gaza Strip. Israel's Political Security Cabinet gave the green nod to the decision as it was aimed to prevent a humanitarian collapse and the outbreak of disease in the enclave's south. In a statement issued by Israeli Prime Minister's office, the amount of fuel would be determined by the cabinet and adjusted based on the local humanitarian situation. The decision to allow fuel into the Gaza Strip is conditional on the Red Cross being granted access to Israeli captives held by Hamas in Gaza. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate blocked a bill that would have provided security assistance for both Ukraine and Israel on Wednesday. The bill was to provide about $50 billion in US dollars in new security assistance for Ukraine, as well as money for humanitarian and economic aid for the government in Kyiv, plus $14 billion US dollars for Israel to combat Hamas in Gaza. As 49 votes were in favor and 51 against, it fell short of the 60 votes needed in the 100-member Senate to pave the way to start a debate, threatening President Joe Biden's push to provide new aid before the end of 2023. Republicans also pressed their demands for tougher measures to control immigration at the U.S. border with Mexico. Israeli forces also shared a video on Wednesday where they can be seen retrieving RPG missiles, anti-tank missiles, explosive devices, long-range missiles, grenades and UAVs. The forces claim that the ammunition are stored in schools and a medical facility in Gaza by Hamas to use for terrorism. Meanwhile, Israel's Foreign Minister Eli Cohen has said that the UN chief Antonio Guterres' tenure was a danger to world peace after he invoked a rare procedure with the Security Council over Gaza war. He said, and I quote, "Guterres' tenure is a danger to world peace. His request to activate Article 99 and the call for a ceasefire in Gaza constitute support for the Hamas terrorist organization." In a rare move, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday invoked Article 99 of the UN Charter and formally warned the Security Council of a global threat from the Gaza war. Taking to social media, UN Chief That's the UN Secretary General said, and I quote, "I have just invoked Article 99 of the UN Charter for the first time in my tenure as Secretary General. Facing a severe risk of collapse of the humanitarian system in Gaza, I urge the Council to help avert a humanitarian catastrophe and appeal for a humanitarian ceasefire to be declared." In the two-page letter, Guterres told the Council that the Gaza war may aggravate existing threats to international peace and security. Also highlighted more than 1,200 brutally killed by militants on October 7th, included 33 children and 130 people still being held captive. They must be immediately and unconditionally released. Accounts of sexual violence during these attacks are appalling, according to the UN chief. Stating that the article has not been used for decades, the UN's spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric said that the UN chief invoked Article 99 of the founding UN Charter that allows him to bring the matter to the attention of the Security Council.
The Secretary General has today delivered a letter to the President of the Security Council invoking Article 99 of the Charter of the United Nations. This is the first time that Antonio Guterres has done this since he became Secretary General in 2017. Article 99 states, and I quote, that the Secretary General may bring to the attention of the Security Council any matter in his opinion that may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. In the letter, which has been shared with you, the Secretary General urges the members of the Security Council to press to avert a humanitarian catastrophe, and he appeals for a humanitarian ceasefire to be declared.
Well, shifting focus from the armed conflict between Israel and Hamas to the Russia-Ukraine war, where powerful explosions rocked the industrial district of the Russian-controlled Donetsk city, setting an oil depot ablaze on Wednesday. The Russian-backed city authorities haven't commented on the incident. Also, there has been no immediate response from Ukraine. Ukrainian troops continue to hold positions on the outskirts of Donetsk, and it regularly comes under artillery fire. U.S. President Joe Biden pleaded with Republicans for a fresh infusion of military aid for Ukraine on Wednesday, warning that a victory for Russia over Ukraine would leave Moscow in a position to attack NATO allies.
Well, Congress and Republicans in Congress are willing to give Putin the greatest gift he could hope for and abandon our global leadership, not just Ukraine, but beyond that. We've all seen the brutality that Putin has inflicted on Ukraine, invading another country, trying to subjugate his neighbors to his iron rule. If Putin takes Ukraine, he won't stop there. It's important to see the long run here. He's going to keep going. He's made that pretty clear. If Putin attacks a NATO ally, if he keeps going, and then he attacks a NATO ally, well, we've committed as a NATO member that we defend every inch of NATO territory.
Well, as leaders of the group of 7 countries held their summit in Japan, discussions on Russia-Ukraine conflict took center stage. DD India's Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
When the G7 leaders held their summit here in Japan, they said that they were going to target Russia's revenue to continue its war campaign in Ukraine by cutting off, energy revenue, but particularly focusing on the global trade of Russian diamonds, considering that previous packages from Tokyo to Ukraine have come in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and this money is really focused on humanitarian aid. Japan cannot export weapons or ammunition. Its constitution forbids it for doing so, although the ruling parties are working very hard to try and find workarounds to allow Japan to export ammunition and weapons at the moment. But it is focused on regenerative aid such as power, resources, and also providing aid to Poland as well to help that country with the humanitarian crisis with the refugees coming in from Ukraine. But look, this is really important for Japan. Experts here in Tokyo are reminding me just this morning that Japan is the only Asian nation inside the G7. It is hosting the G7 this year. It has a few weeks left in doing so before it loses the chairmanship of the G7 for another 7 years, and its last chance to really focus the agenda for itself, its own interests. And political scientists in Tokyo have told me that it's a chance for Japan to remind its European and North American partners that it cares about the same things they they do, that it cares about wars on the other side of the world, and that way, if any potential conflict were to break out in this part of the world, they can reliably, rely on their assistance in return.
Well, U.S. National Security spokesperson John Kirby said that U.S. continues to watch the defense relationship that's developing between Iran and Russia. He added that Iran is a threat to the security in the Middle East.
The only thing I'd add is that, we're continuing to watch this burgeoning defense relationship between Iran and Russia. That's worrisome because Iran continues to provide drones to Mr. Putin, who uses those drones to attack energy infrastructure and kill innocent Ukrainians. And what the Iranians are expecting in return is a measure of defense industrial support as well. And an Iran that has more advanced capabilities and availability to get their hands on Russian weapons, that's not an Iran that's healthy for the security environment in the Middle East.
Well, in U.S., a shooting on the main campus of the University of Nevada in Las Vegas on Wednesday left at least 3 people dead before the bloodshed ended with the suspect's own death. The Las Vegas Police Department said that 3 people aside from the shooter were killed. Another person who was shot was in critical condition. Authorities have not identified the victims. It also remained unclear whether the suspect was shot dead by police or committed suicide. Official details of the incident remain sketchy. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department sheriff said there was no longer any threat to the community, but the UNLV campus and other branches of the university are being closed as caution.
I will tell you that this combined police, state, local, and federal law enforcement, along with the fire department, worked very well. As the chief told you, we do have one suspect down. Of course, we have no idea on the motive. There are a number of victims that have been transported to area hospitals, so I don't want to give you false information and tell you how many victims that we have, but we will be providing that update very, very shortly.
Well, a container ship collided with a floating bridge in the eastern lane of the Suez Canal. Tugboats rescued Ship 1 Office after it suffered a fault with its radar while transiting the canal on its way from Singapore to the Netherlands. Authorities said that the passage of ships through the waterway has not been stopped. NASA on Wednesday celebrated 25 years of the International Space Station's operations. The first 2 modules of the ISS, named Zaira and Unify, were joined together in 1998. NASA's Associate Administrator Bob Cabana and ISS Program Manager Joel Montalbano spoke to the 7 members of the Expedition 70 crew on board the station to mark the occasion. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen announced new sanctions against 15 individuals and 2 Mexican companies linked to the Beltran Levia drug scandal. The new sanctions come into crackdown on the illicit financing network supporting the cartels and the drug traffickers that helped tunnel the drug into the United States. Yellen described Beltran as one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world and a major supplier of cocaine and now fentanyl to the United States. The New York Attorney General's office has said that Donald Trump should remain barred from speaking publicly about any court staff in the civil fraud case. The judge overseeing the case, Justice Ada Enogan, said that the gag order on October 3rd, after the former U.S. president shared on social media a photo of the judge's law clerk posing with U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, and falsely called her Schumer's girlfriend. Engoron in November extended the order, barring the party's lawyers from commenting on the clerk's communication with the court. Trump last month appealed, arguing that the court's orders violated his constitutional right to free speech. A judge at the mid-level state appeals court paused the orders on November 16th, but a full panel reinstated them 2 weeks later. Britain's Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick has resigned after the U.S. government published draft emergency legislation aimed at getting its Rwandan migrant deportation scheme up and running. According to media reports, Jenrick quit after Prime Minister Rishi Sunak rejected his demands to opt out of the European human rights laws. The Safety of Rwandan Bill, published the day after Britain signed a new treaty with Rwanda, is designed to overcome a ruling by the UK's Supreme Court that the government's proposed scheme by the government to send thousands of asylum seekers to the East African country very unlawful. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson gave his most explicit apology for his handling of the coronavirus crisis on Wednesday, saying his government had been too complicit and vastly underestimated the risk posed by the virus. In an appearance before the official inquiry into the UK's handling of the pandemic, Johnson said he took responsibility for all the decisions made and understands the public anger after the inquiry head of government incompetence, backstabbing and misogyny as it battled the biggest health crisis in decades. Johnson said COVID-19 had first appeared as a cloud on the horizon and not the typhoon that went on to kill more than 230,000 people in Britain and infected many million more. Initially, Johnson said he did not believe the forecast of fatalities because of health scares such as swine flu, pandemic and the mad cow disease ended up with much lower death tolls than first anticipated or expected. Australia and neighbouring Papua New Guinea signed a bilateral security agreement on Thursday. The deal is designed to bolster Papua New Guinea's internal security through more assistance in policing, defence and judiciary. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and counterpart James Marape said that the agreement showed the closeness between the two nations. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has been ranked 32nd on the Forbes annual list of the world's most 100 women. The list includes influential women from various sectors such as politics, business, media, entertainment. Nirmala Sitharaman's inclusion in the list highlights her significant contributions in Indian politics and also policy and reflects the influence of India's economics, policies and GDP on the global stage. Back home, coastal states of India, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and eastern part of Odisha are slowly crawling back to normalcy in the wake of cyclone Migdam. But visuals from parts of Chennai and its neighbouring districts show that the havoc the cyclone has caused, with several localities still inundated. Rescue teams from NDRF, SDRF, civic agencies ushering those stranded to higher ground and packets being still needed to be distributed. Helicopters from the Indian Air Force were also pressed into service, airdropping relief material in parts of the city that remained hard to reach. Schools and colleges in Chennai district have been declared a holiday today in view of the waterlogging after the ongoing relief efforts. Meanwhile, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is visiting Chennai today to review the situation. He will undertake an aerial visit, after which he'll meet the state's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. He will be briefed about the relief work underway by the various agencies. India's Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, today inaugurated Hindustan Aeronautics Limited's Avionics Expo 2023 at the Ambedkar International Centre in the capital in New Delhi. HAL will be showcasing its rich legacy in the design, development and production of the diverse range of avionics systems during the two-day expo. Speaking at the event, the CDS spoke on geo-economic and technological changes in modern militaries.
We are all actually in midst of a great change or transformation. It's not only geopolitical change that's occurring, it's geoeconomic as well as technological changes. In such an era, it is essential that modern militaries are ready to fight while they prepare themselves for future kind of conflicts. In order to keep pace with this change, it is essential that militaries as well as the scientific community, entrepreneurs and developers understand and identify the key technological trends so that we can remain ahead of the curve.
Well, India is observing the 74th Armed Forces Flag Day on December 7th. The day serves as a tribute to the martyrs and the brave men in uniform who valiantly defended India's borders, preserving the honour of nation. Flag Day emphasizes India's commitment to caring for its war-disabled soldiers, Veer Naris, the brave women and the families of martyrs who make the ultimate sacrifice for the country. The day has been observed annually since 1949. Rwanda's Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta arrived in New Delhi on Thursday. The Foreign Minister is on official visit to further enhance India-Rwanda ties. Posting pictures on social media, India's Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said that the visit will add fresh impetus to India-Rwanda partnership. European Union countries and lawmakers have agreed on rules governing artificial intelligence systems such as ChatGPT after 10 hours of discussions, a person with direct knowledge on the talk said on Thursday. According to the source, EU government made compromise in the hopes of gaining lawmakers' backing to be able to use AI in biometric surveillance for national security, defense and military purposes. The talks, which started on Wednesday, are continuing with the focus on the use of biometric surveillance, which lawmakers want to ban. Alphabet on Wednesday introduced its most advanced artificial intelligence model, technology capable of crunching different forms of information such as video, audio and text, called Gemini. The Google owner's highly anticipated AI model is capable of more sophisticated reasoning and understanding information with a greater eye of nuance than Google's prior technology. It will be integrated into Band as well as its latest Pixel 8 Pro smartphones. Underlining Gemini's state-of-the-art performance across many leading benchmarks, Google CEO Sundar Pichai said that 1.0 Gemini is optimized for different sizes, Ultra, Pro and Nano. Well, after launching a record-shattering global tour and becoming the world's most streamed musical artist in 2023, Taylor Swift notched yet another record on Wednesday when Time magazine named her as its Person of the Year. Swift took the award in a year when a nearly 2 decades of fame and influence came to a peak, in a magazine said on Wednesday, where they pronounced the actor, and she became the first person from the arts sector to be honored for her success as an entertainer. Well, India takes on Spain in the second Pool C match of the Junior Men's Hockey World Cup on Thursday. India overcame South Korea in the opening match 4-2 after vice-captain Arijit Singh Hundal scored a hat-trick. But India's coach C.R. Kumar was not satisfied with the performance and said that the team needs to avoid conceding unnecessary penalty corners. India conceded 6 penalty corners while earned 2 past Korea. But India will start as favourites against Spain in this match today. You know, the Spaniards are India's toughest opponents in the pool. They also include Canada. They won a bronze medal at the 2005 edition. India won the silver medal way back in 1997 in England. India's last pool match against Canada is on Sunday. Well, that's all in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We're going to be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anil Thomas. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.